taking on debt can make you appear to be liquid, to have lots of money, to have lots of growth. And the problem is that the system is based on constantly compounding debt. And that's really the only tool that they have. But every single time they issue new money, the value of all the money that's out there goes down. That's the purchasing power. That's the inflation. So if they can control the inflation at that 2%, they rob you of your purchasing power, but you don't change your behavior. However, running higher than 2%, and especially where we were from all that money printing and that loose monetary policy, in other words, interest rates at zero and lots of free money, that makes it look like we have growth. All that was taking on more debt. So when you're looking at the US government, who issues the Treasury bond, which is the underpinning, the foundation of the global markets. So when you're looking at the deficits, all the central bank really has to regulate the rate and speed of inflation are interest rates. And interest rates have been anchored at 0% since 2009. And without exception, every single government that has attempted to raise rates since 2009, including the US government starting in 2016, it has been a big, fat fail. And unfortunately, the only answer is more debt. And who's buying that debt? But the global central banks are buying the debts of the governments. Doesn't make them particularly independent, as they want to say, nor does it make the economy look healthy. So, yeah, what's the answer? The only tool they have is this. That's it. And we are already officially at 3 cents worth of purchasing power. Why isn't all this stimulus stimulating? Or who, better question is, who is it stimulating? Because it's not the public. For sure. That's your K-shaped recovery. That's your wealth and income inequality. If any of you out there are holding variable rate debt and you can get rid of that variable rate debt, you better do it now. This is probably your last best opportunity to do so. In fiat money products, stocks, bonds, ETFs, insurance policies, all of that garbage, those are just contracts. And contracts are subject to counterparty risk. What does the Bank for International Settlements tell us is the only financial asset that runs zero counterparty risk? Gold, right here. And by the way, when they need to get the confidence of the public back again, and they do those overnight revaluations, that's how they do it. They revalue something that has no intrinsic value against something that's 100% intrinsic value. And it's 100% intrinsic value because it's used in every single sector of the global economy, period. Silver is a secondary monetary metal. I've done studies on what happens to both of these during hyperinflationary events. And while you will see the silver gold gap narrow for a period, the bottom line is if there's no purchasing power left in the currency, and if that's official, it's worse than that. And they don't have the key tool, which are interest rates, to regulate the rate and speed of that inflation. And it requires confidence. And the only level of confidence left is the public's confidence. Once that is lost, you're in a hyperinflationary depression. And this is global. In the US, we are most likely to feel it worse than anybody else because we've been the world reserve currency. And so we've had privileges because they go, the US won't default. Because after all, we can just print the money to repay that debt. Well, Not if nobody is going to accept it. Stack gold, but gold is the primary currency metal. It does outperform during hyperinflationary events. And the premiums, people complain about the premiums. The premiums are showing you the truth because there's a finite amount of this stuff. There's an infinite amount of this stuff. So keep stacking. And I have a mantra that I live by: food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. Because these are all the things that we need to sustain a reasonable standard of living. But frankly, one person can't do it all. And what has been the methodology of governments is divide and conquer. Because if we're not in community, it's so much easier to control us. So that is such a strong recommendation, is that you come together both locally and globally in community. You bring the gifts that you have been given: food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. You share them with the community so that when they try and control you via this, you can say, nope, because you got this, you got this, you got food, you got a community around you, and then they can't pull it off. I mean, they're going to bring the CBDCs out, and the way from what I've read, the way they're going to sell it to the world is that there will not be any more inflation. So you want to retain your control? Involve a community, and I really am working. I'll tell you, I'm so grateful that I got to spend some time in Australia, and I did 3 events there. In the last 2 events, they were people that already knew my work. I talked about building community because that was what was sitting in front of me, and it was so glaring. And I know that the biggest challenge that most people have is getting their friends and their relatives to see what they see. So my new commitment is I am going to figure this out so that I can give the individuals the tool to help build that community, because that's our only hope. It is an absolutely not given that the government and central bankers can get away with it. If we stand together, there are more of us than there are of them. We are powerful. We are strong together.